man. I do what I do.
And old boy Russell John come running by, 18, 19 years old, looking like the first round draft choice in the NFL running back selection. And of course, she's going to be physically attracted to him. And so that's an example of female hypergamy, even though, you know, they say alpha Fs, beta bucks. That's an example of female nature right there. That's what we got to get a deep dive into this. You see what I mean? You got to put your red pill binoculars on and let's point out some of this female behavior. All right.
Hey, but think about what you were describing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these alpha males, and what do a lot of women in today's society tend to try to do? Like, for instance, the whole concept of a faithful alpha,
mm-hmm.
which is an oxymoron. I mean, if you're an alpha male, you're probably not going to be monogamous, but for some reason, a lot of women sell this dream that you can have a faithful alpha, you know, but the white women used to be able to achieve that because they could have the strongest buck on the plantation, right, and they could kind of control what he does.
They could control. And that's another thing. I think I'm probably one of the first people to tell you guys that women want to control their bodies and they want to control your bodies, your body being the body of her love interest or the body of what she feels is her property.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that black alpha male and his body is under her control. He better not have sex with nobody.
Yeah, again, guess who was the only people in history to be able to do that?
I don't know.
White women. That's the only people throughout history. Like, white women couldn't go into Africa and take all these slaves and then force them to be, you know, subjected to them without the help. They couldn't do that. You couldn't create that environment at all because, you know, we'd kill them. You know what I'm saying? But they had the right infrastructure to kind of get that achieved. And the thing about it is I think a lot of black women kind of look at that. They want to be able to do that. They want to be able to control us.
All women want to control their bodies and your body.
Absolutely. But that's why I think a lot of the black women look up to white women so much, especially in this pretty society, because
they look up to them because they have a higher social status.
Right. That too. But
see, now, if Asian women had a higher social status than white women, then they would look up to Asian women, and all the other women would be complaining to the men of their tribe, their group, how you're inadequate, you're not doing what this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm gonna go get one of those Asian men because they have a higher social status. And I want to be like that Asian woman prize that he has. It's female nature is what I'm trying to tell you. Let me tell you something that's probably gonna be really controversial. I want to get some more guys in here, but I slightly disagree with Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Queen mother, brilliant psychologist. But the more I think about it, I don't think the driving force behind white supremacy racism is solely the fear of genetic annihilation. I think it has to do more with not being able to please their women. In other words, they're simps. And I pointed that out before, and I said, why? Instead of doing what God wants them to do, they want to bring all this material wealth and value to their women, keep the rest of the world oppressed so they can basically look like men before the eyes of the world. I love Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, and to me, that is a brilliant starting point for the rest of us who consider ourselves knowledgeable and are willing to invest the time and the intellectual capital and researching. But I think it has a lot more to do with the willingness and I'm coming from a biological perspective in that I understand that our biological imperative as men is to protect and provide for our women and our children. And so based on that, it's not just about protection, but also providing. So we also want to provide. And how do we go about providing? We take and steal the resources from other women. So behind this white supremacy racism, yeah, you got the white man as the front, but behind that is what? You got a woman driving him. This is what I'm thinking. I just find it interesting. And I've thought that for a long time now, at least, I guess 6 or 7 years, because I stopped at a certain point in my book, Rules to Live By, How to Maintain Peace of Mind and Happiness. volume 2, when I began to refer to the conflict associated with racism. In this yellow book, I kind of stop. I say, in mid thought, there's something more there. I'll reserve that for another time or another set of literature.
Hey, but
But
Dennis,
go
can I
ahead,
say
Triple
something
Black.
real quick?
Of course,
But
Triple Black. Go ahead.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying. It's just not. I think that's one part of it. But I thought she addressed that in the book about it wasn't. I mean, I guess it all leads up to genetic survival. But I thought she did say in the book,
I don't think they're really that concerned with genetic survival. I think they're concerned more with social status and control.
Right, but
because if you look at the nature of most human beings, and that dying is not necessarily the issue. It's how you live. It's interesting, but go ahead. And that's beyond the pale of what we're talking about. But go ahead, Triple Black, and then we'll go to John.
I mean, and I could be wrong because I read the book.
No, we're just talking, brother. We're just talking. You're not wrong. Just get it out. You know what I mean?
But
yeah.
Because she did reference in the book, there was a lot of different things that we are a threat sexually to a lot of white men, and that makes them very insecure. That's why you have a lot of games.
I don't think. But see, here's what you think. White men have had access to black women since the first one invaded. You see, so if they were afraid of intermixing their genes with black women, they would. Oh my God, we can't do that. That's
no. I think it was.
Their problem is control.
Control. Yeah,
they want to be able to.
That's why they practice castration and those type of techniques in order to demasculate the black man. That's why a lot of the games, like she put in the book, like baseball was like one of those fears that that's why baseball was so popular.
See, the thing here's a problem, and this is where female nature comes into play. This is why I think, and I love Dr. Frances Cress Wilson. She's brilliant, but she's still a female, and female have something called female-owned group preference. Those of us in the red pill community or Group Digest, we recognize that female-owned group preference takes precedent over many things, and it doesn't matter what color the woman is. You see what I mean? They're typically always. I say in my book, women always side with each other except when they don't. And so one of those aspects is she wouldn't say it's because it's women driving white supremacy racism, because what does that mean? That means some of the things that Africans have done, African men have done, were because of the African women driving them. We know that. We know that based on, look at the 1980s. Black men out there selling dope and whatnot, killing people to run home so they can get money and buy things and look like a man to their mama and their sisters. We know that. I got to feed my family. If I don't feed my family, what happens? They're gonna fill me up with shame and guilted feelings. You see what I mean?
No, you're absolutely right. I never thought about it from that perspective, because at the end of the day, she's still a woman, and women do have a hard time not crafting a narrative to kind of absolve them for some type of accountability.
Female-owned group preference. That's what it's called in the red pill community. And I don't consider myself fully inundated in red pill, but it's a brilliant philosophy. I'm telling you, these MGTOW guys here, if you guys would listen to them, if you would get over what they were, the outcome, and dig down into the theory and the logic, it's brilliant stuff. And it has so many answers that it's almost revolutionary to think about.
You're absolutely right, because even reading that book, she didn't really talk about how, like, even in slavery, how black women were complicit with a lot of stuff that was going on. A lot of times they were agents of it. Like, when a slave wanted to escape or whatever, and who was in the bed telling massa, like, they're planning to do this.
They said of the 140 documented slave rebellions, the vast majority of them were ratted out by some lovely lady who decided that she liked the conditions that she was in, as opposed to being free and running out there in the woods, running away from master's dogs. I mean, see, and I hate to say this, man, but if you were a woman and you had a choice between, you're gonna have to take some penis from somebody, right? Either you can take some penis for this buck who's out here in the shed and who has to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and work every night to 9 o'clock at night, or you can sleep up in the house, okay, or in the basement or the attic with a pillow and comfort, and take some penis from this white man over here. Women don't have racial loyalty. You see what I mean? I know it's hard to say this, and I know we've been fed the lie that all these women were victims of slavery. I know that. I know that they were victims. They had no choice. There was this control dynamic. But I think that some of them volunteered for that. I think some of them looked at their options and shit and said, well, I'm gonna be controlled. Who do I want to be? Who do I want to control my body? Who do I want to have sex for? Who, with this man with all his money and resources, or this man out here who's working for this man out here with money and resources? You understand what I'm saying, Triple Black?
No, I exactly. I know exactly what you're saying. And,
Yeah.
you know, like, you know, a lot of from a red pill perspective, a lot of guys don't realize, you know, they can't wrap their head around why they love to mess with, you know, Pookie and Ray Ray, or, you know, the bum, whatever, because they can they have complete control on that guy. You know, they didn't have that control back then, but they can kick him out. They can do whatever they want to. They have complete control. You know,
they have control over themselves, and now they have control over their man. Again,
right.
The fundamental thing that I haven't heard preached here in this, and old hustlers will tell you this, pimps, I guess is what you call them, but any grown man will tell you that from back in the day. Look, you don't let your woman get control over you. You don't let her even think she has control over you. She lose respect for you. She'll treat you bad. You see what I mean? Let her control the children, and you be controlled by God. You see what I mean? That whole Bible that we read tells us to follow what God says do, not follow what women say do.
It's crazy.
The white man has made that mistake. Right. The black man has made that mistake. And until we stop making that same mistake, we're going to continue in this chain of destruction that we're in, this cycle of destruction. We need to, all of us as men, need to get back in line with what God wants us to do, whether you call him Yahweh, Jehovah, Yah Allah, whatever you call him. It's God's will. Is that what you need to submit to, not what women want? Okay, you going out there shooting and killing people and sticking up old ladies because your lady wants a Birkin bag first. You're out there working yourself 80, 90 hours a week, not even spending time home because you're trying to buy a nice big house for your woman. You out there kidnapping people from overseas and bringing them over here and enslaving them for 400 or 500 years because you want your woman to live in comfort and call you a man. You want to be able to be seen as a man.